Hello there guys, Professor De here. I'm here with a HTCG video. I'm sort of working on this new TCG called Adventure TCG. Let me know if I copied the name at all. But yeah, so before I begin the video, I would like to first say that I am currently playing in a no response tournament. That's why I'm not uploading any videos, because as much as I want to showcase the deck I'm playing with, I don't want to like straight up give my deck list away, since this is sort of like a hidden deck tournament. I also haven't been uploading a lot because I've been practicing for my MTG RCQs. Uh, so yeah, so those are things that I'm currently busy with. But yeah, so here's a video for you guys, a very interesting one. So I have been working on this game for quite a while now. I've been working on this game for about a week, I would say. Initially started as just a pen down on my notebook in my free time. But yeah, I sort of made it into a reality. Not fully, I will say. Uh, this is just a slide of the rules I've come up with and sort of like the general idea of the game. Uh, so yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you guys have any comments on it, just comment down below. Let me know if I copied, or let me know any criticisms you guys have for the game. But yeah, let's dive into it. So, how to play. So players play as an adventurer, so basically like a leader card, and attempt to complete quests using their stats and traits on the adventure card. Uh, yeah, and then the first player who reaches 10 fame wins the game. And then players play with a deck of 36 cards, which is 5 quest cards, 3 actions and equipables. Uh, this could be any amount. And their adventure card, which is, well, the 36th card. And there is a reason why I chose 36 as a very specific number, because I do want to release this game on a game crafter, and the game crafter does have a limitation on the number of cards you can sort of like make a deck with. So 36 is that number, so that's why I chose 36. This number may change. Of course, any of these can change with like rule testing and stuff. But yeah, this is what I'm working with for now. Uh, so only for deck building purposes, only up to 2 copies of each card may be put into a deck, unless the card has a legend action or equipable. So yeah. So the game plays with a priority system. So you basically play a card and then you pass priority to your opponent. Your opponent plays a card and then you pass priority to you. So yeah, it's sort of like 1-2, 1-2 gameplay. Yeah, that's basically how the game sort of works. So at the start of the game, decide who goes first by flipping a coin or rolling dice. This is pretty normal. And then that player gains like a first person marker, sort of to show that you're going first. And then players set their 5 chosen quest cards in front of their adventurer. And when you start the game, you do not draw cards from your deck, and you just gain gold equal to the amount stated on your character. So the next slide shows just how the game is played. This is not how you set up the game. This is just showing how I'm sort of like envisioning the game. So quests are basically your like sideways cards, and yeah, so these are your quests. You have your adventurer, and then you have your equipables. So these are like your equipment cards, and then you have your gold obtained from actions or quests or your adventurer. And then you have a fame counter, which just counts how many fame you have. And then your player hand, which usually will include your equipments and actions. And then your deck. And finally your like graveyard or trash or whatever. I don't know what to call this yet, but I'm just gonna call it trash for now. So moving on to player turn structure. So I'm gonna call these rounds or turns. No like specific thing to call it yet, but yeah, I might just interchange saying rounds and turns. So yeah, yeah, you can already see it. But at the start of the turn, you gain gold equal to your character's gold. So basically, at the start of the game, you gain gold, and then at the start of the turn, you gain gold. And then during your draw phase, you can pay 1 gold to draw a card, and then you pass priority to your opponent. And then your opponent chooses whether they want to pay 1 gold and draw a card. Then you may like choose whether you want to pay 1 gold or draw a card. But the moment you pass, that means you want to stop doing that. So yeah, and once both players pass, it moves on to the action phase. So during the action phase, you can play a card. Well, in this case, an action card, and then you pay costs, if any, to perform the action stated on the card. If you're not playing an action card, you'll be playing an equipable. So your equipables, you basically pay the gold cost and then equip it to your character. But if your character has too many equipment cards, then you must choose one to discard before the equipment like hits the playing field. There is one more action that I didn't add. If your like character or equipment has an action keyword or like an action, then it does this thing. That also counts as using an action. I didn't add this in the slides, but I will add it in the future. But yeah. But yeah, after playing a card or using your action, you pass priority to your opponent, and then your opponent passes back to you, and then you may pass back. But the moment a player passes, they just stop completely, and then when both players pass, the action phase ends. So yeah, next moving on to the quest phase. So both players choose up to 2 quests to attempt to complete. So starting with the first player, they just choose 2 quests they want to complete, and then the second player chooses, and then yeah, basically you follow the quests, meaning as long as you meet the requirement, that means you complete the quests. And then at the end phase, I didn't add this in, but at the end phase, after you quest and everything, you pass the first player token to your opponent if you have one. So yeah, that's how the game sort of works. I'm not sure if you guys can sort of like visualize it in your head, but yeah, maybe I can explain it another time with like a real life card playing scenario. But yeah. So now I'll move on to the cards themselves. So this will sort of show you guys how the cards look like and give more visualization of how the game works. So starting with the adventure card, you have the name, the art, and then you have the stats here. So you have strength, intelligence, defense, and dexterity. And then you have the gold here, so this is the amount of gold it gains. And then equip 2 means that it can only have 2 equipables in play. Then it also has a type, so typing sort of like affects deck building and sort of like what cards you want to play in your deck. And of course, you have the ability, in this case, that has smart creation. So once per turn, you can discard an equipment to search your deck for an experimental or dead equipment. You put it into your hand, then you shuffle. So that's its ability. I will say that because this is once per turn, it doesn't count as performing an action. If it is an action, it will just say action here, then comma, instead of once per turn. But yeah. Yeah, so moving on to the equipment cards. So we have the name, the cost of the equipment, so you have to pay 2 gold for this equipment. And then the requirements to have this equipment attached is you don't need a strength stat, but you need more than 2 intelligence, more than 2 defense, and you don't need a dexterity stat. So yeah. Then when this is equipped, it gives 2 defense and 1 intelligence, and when it's played, you add a counter to a new laboratory quest. So yeah, ignore this ability and this name drop here, because I'm not even sure if this will actually be a card, but this sort of like shows you guys how the thing works. And of course you have the type here, which from the adventure card sort of like showed how typing matters in the game. So yeah. Next we have our action cards. So we have Poor Dissolution here, which has a pretty interesting cost of 3 intelligence. I'll explain it later. But its ability is your opponent's defense is -1 for this turn. And then of course it has the types. So it's an action, it's a potion, and it's death. Yeah, it's a death action, I guess. So the cost here, if it's gold, you have to pay that amount of gold to play the card. However, in this case, if it's a stat, as long as you have that amount of stats or less, or more. So as long as you have that stat or more, you can just play any number of cards as long as you have that stat. So in this case, if you have like 2 Poor Dissolutions in hand, you can play both actually. I mean, of course you would play one and then pass to your opponent, and then you can play the second one. So that's sort of how the action cards work. This may change, of course, if it's too broken, but for now I'm just gonna keep it like this. So yeah. Next is the quest card. So the quest card has a name, the art, of course, and then its requirements. So the requirements for Start the Experiment is a special quest. So special quest means that it's only like sort of locked in on a certain adventurer. And then next you have the actual requirements. So in this case, you must have 3 intelligence and 3 defense. You must have 3 debt equipables in play. So having equipables means that you have to have it on your adventure, and then you have to pay for gold. So when you attempt to complete the quest, you have to pay for gold, and then you also have to have completed the laboratory setup quest. So that's what complete means. I might change this to have completed laboratory setup, just to make things easier, I guess. So yeah, that's how requirements work. And then reward. So the reward basically is what the quest will give you. So in this case, if you complete this quest, you get 3 gold, 1 fame, and can search for a death weapon and put it into your hand. So yeah, so these are how the templates will look like. This is just a general idea, because I realized that if once you guys see how the cards look like, you sort of like have an idea of how the game works. So hopefully that sort of like allowed you guys to visualize how this game is played. And yeah, with that, let me know if you guys have any criticisms or anything about this game that you want to just say. I'm very open to any suggestions and stuff, or just let me know if I copied anything from another game. I don't wish to copy anything from other games. That's sort of like the whole main aim of making this game. So yeah, feel free to comment down below, just say anything, and be sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.